All right, all right. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy got a Purdy big contract extension, pun fully intended, by the way. But I think the 49ers completely overpaid, massively overpaid for Brock Purdy. So let's break down the contract and explain why I feel how I feel about it. But before we jump into all that, hope you all are having a fantastic, fantabulous, awesome freaking day. My name is Garrett Shoemake, and this is the Shoemake Take. Hope you all are doing well. One more thing before we jump into it. I want to formally apologize and say that I am sorry for not uploading any videos or shorts on social media, pretty much kind of falling off the face of the earth for roughly a week and a half. So here's what happened. Sunday, not this past Sunday, but the previous Sunday, as of the time of me recording this, May 18th, I turned 23. That was my birthday, and a buddy of mine went to the beach, stayed out there for about 4 or 5 hours, tried to tan. Not really, as you can tell. I mean, all this is like pale white, and this is, tan-ish, but that's not the point. I got burnt really bad. And I'm talking shoulders, back, literally red like a tomato. I was cooked. So I was not feeling too great those first couple days. So I was kind of, tired. I was kind of dragging along. And then I had a family matter I had to take care of that ended up lasting longer than I anticipated. I thought that it'd be like a couple day thing. And then, I'd go back at the end of the week, upload some videos, right? Make some new shorts and whatnot. But ended up going past that, and then now here we are. We are now here, finally ready to talk about this contract. So kind of wanted to explain my absence and also apologize for pretty much not doing anything over this past week. So for those of you that were worried about me or wondering, well, here I am. I'm perfectly fine. We're getting back into the swing of things. So now let's talk about Brock Purdy. So Brock Purdy, the 49ers quarterback, signed a 5-year, $265 million contract extension. That's $53 million per year per average annual value. That makes him the 7th highest paid quarterback in the National Football League, and that's $181 million fully guaranteed on that contract. I'm going to put the contract details on screen now that the details have been released. When I was making this video originally, the details were not out yet, and the script, from what I saw, from what's-his-face, Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated said a couple things, and I thought that the contract was completely different compared to what the contract details are out now. But looking at it actually, I want to take a point of emphasis to look at going down each cap hit. Of course, you get like a $9 million cap hit in 2025, and then it jumps to $24 million, then it jumps to $30 million. But then you look right below that. And here's why I think the contract, the one thing I would say is good for the 49ers about this contract, is that after 2028, there is an out where after that, he'll be paid 3 years, $115 million roughly, and about $38 million in dead cap. I saw somewhere that it was like going to be $16 million in dead cap. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I'd have to do a little bit more research, I'll be honest. I kind of just pulled this up, read it real quick, and then screenshotted it. But that's kind of the cool thing. Well, is it cool? No, that's not the right word. But that's like the beneficial part for the 49ers. And that's one thing that people should understand more about contracts is that, while the big final number is like 5 years, $265 million, he's probably not getting all that money. That includes like obviously bonuses, incentives, whatnot. Like the $265 million part is like the max money he could get. Like if he plays throughout the entire contract and hits all of his incentives and whatnot, like that's the max total. But also contracts are never as long as they're written. Like when the news breaks either. A lot of contracts like this that are big investments, they will have outs roughly halfway through to save the team money in case, things happen unfortunately where the player doesn't perform up to expectations, and so the team needs to have an out. So seeing that right there halfway through, 3-year, $115 million being probably the more realistic contract in terms of the NFL and all of its factors that go into, players' health and longevity and all that stuff that we don't need to talk about. But even so, 3 years, $115 million, it's not bad. I mean, that's similar to a contract that Sam Darnold got this offseason, or the same contract that Baker Mayfield got in Tampa a couple years ago. So that's pretty fair, I would say. But in totality, it is a lot of money regardless. And before we jump into why I think it was a massive overpay, I want to quickly congratulate Brock Purdy because he needs his recognition going from a 7th round pick, not just a 7th round pick, Mr. Irrelevant. And then he gets top tier quarterback money, generational wealth for himself and for his family. That's a really cool story. That's motivating. That's encouraging for a lot of people, including myself, seeing that This guy literally was at the bottom. He was at the bottom last pick of the draft, and then he worked his way to being one of the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. And that's a testament to him. That's a testament to how hard he worked and what he did on the field for the most part in San Francisco. So I congratulate Brock Purdy. Good for him. I'm happy for him. I'm excited for him. But for the 49ers, again, it's a massive overpay. And while I agree that there's values to keeping a player like Brock Purdy around that you can't quantify, you talk about the person, the leadership, what he brings to the locker room, stuff like that. But Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. I want to make that clear up front right now. I believe Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. He is a starting quarterback at bare minimum, starting quarterback in the National Football League. So that being said, I wouldn't even consider him a top quarterback. Like, definitely, if you look at the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, he's definitely by far the worst one on that list, in my opinion. And I wouldn't even consider him second tier at times. Last year, he definitely was not a second tier quarterback. And last year was his worst season in 2024. And the thing with Brock Purdy, the big narrative was, oh yeah, Brock Purdy faltered and was bad because the team around him got hurt. Well, whoop-de-doo. 28 out of 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL if their team gets injured and goes down, the quarterback is going to suffer. Their production is going to dip. They're not going to play as well. There's only 4 quarterbacks in the NFL that no matter what is around them, they're going to produce and be a superstar week to week. And that is Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Those 4, and there's nobody else. So when I talk about what I'm about to talk about, in that the fact that he played worse when the team got hurt around him being a massive warning sign, it's not because, he can't elevate his team. Because he cannot make something happen out of absolutely nothing despite everything going on around him. That's a rare trait. I'm not going to expect Brock Purdy or any quarterback to actually be able to do that until they prove it. And at that point, okay, they've shown that they can do it. There's the expectation. But for Brock, I don't expect that out of Brock. He's a 7th round pick. He doesn't have all the physical tools. He has to be like Tom Brady. He has to be like Drew Brees. He has to be accurate. He has to be precise. He has to do all the little things right to circumvent the lack of physical abilities that he has. But my massive warning sign for Brock Purdy is that it's not that he played bad because the team was hurt or that he can't elevate. It's the fact that a lot of these losses, you could point to Brock Purdy and saying he was a pivotal part in the team, in the 49ers, losing football games, especially late in games and later in the year, especially as I'm going to point out here in a moment. You look at games like Week 5 against the Cardinals, Week 11 against the Seahawks, Week 15 against the Rams. All 3 divisional games, mind you, divisional rivals. And then Week 16 against the Dolphins, Week 17 against the Lions. He made decisions that were horrible. He made horrible throws. He had terrible interceptions. He had missed reads. And there was a couple games in that pile where the 49ers had the lead. They had the lead in the 4th quarter, and all they had to do was just run out the clock and win the game, which obviously that's easier said than done. But you go watch the tape on these games in late game in these moments, Brock Purdy made terrible decisions. There was a game in Week 5 against the Cardinals. There was a throw wide over. It was over the middle to George Kittle. Completely missed him. Didn't even see him. And then threw an interception. Whoop-de-doo. And then bam, the Cardinals come back and win that game. And then there was a game, I can't remember, I think it was against the Seahawks or the Rams, where he threw an interception. They were leading in the 4th quarter, threw it in triple coverage, gets picked off, and then the team, whichever one it was, comes back to go win the game and beat the 49ers. And that's a problem. That's a massive problem. I don't care if you don't play as good because the team is hurt around you. But no matter what is going on around you, you can have every single starter on the offense hurt and out of the game. That does not excuse making poor decisions, making bad throws, and making terrible interceptions that cost your team wins and cost them leads. The 49ers finished 6-11 last year. Injuries is not the whole story as to why a team that went to the Super Bowl a year prior won 6 games the next year. You don't just get an injury bug and then all of a sudden you just fall off a cliff. Look at the Tennessee Titans. I'm wearing a Titans tank top right now. The Titans were the most injured team in the NFL in 2021, and they had the number 1 seed in the AFC with a 12-5 record. So that says something. Going 6-11 after going to the Super Bowl takes a lot more than just injuries. And Brock Purdy in his worst play is reflective of that. He was not good in 2024. He simply was not. And I would also argue that had Brock Purdy been better, had the 49ers gotten better quarterback play, they probably would have finished 8-9. Heck, they probably would have gone 9-8 and been okay. That would have been more realistic for a team going to the Super Bowl and then catching a really bad injury bug. That would have made more sense, especially in Brock Purdy's camp where George Kittle missed some games. Brandon Ayuk went down early in the year. Christian McCaffrey was never in the game or any games for the 49ers outside of a couple where he looked good and then bam, went out again after missing the first half of the season. Jordan Mason, who was playing phenomenal for the 49ers, went down. Their third string running back went down to where rookie Isaac Guerrero was starting games later in the year. I'm trying to think. Deebo Samuel was hurt at that time. Ricky Pearsall was hurt in that time. Remember, he got shot in the chest. He wasn't even playing the first part of the year because he got shot in the chest. And then guess what? The first game he came back, he scored a touchdown, which wild in and of itself. But the 49ers, they dealt with a lot of injuries on offense. So I could understand why, sure, the offense would dip in production. But the bottom line is, Brock Purdy made those interceptions. He made horrible decisions. And no injuries, no amount of injuries can excuse a bad decision made by the quarterback. And you can't excuse that. You cannot look at that and say, oh, injuries. No, he was horrible. I wouldn't say horrible, but he was not good in 2024. It was just simply not good and not up to par at all, even for a quarterback, that dealt with all those injuries. I think I'm losing my train of thought at this point. I'm not really sure how to piggyback off of this. But I guess I'll just continue from here. The 49ers are taking a massive risk. They're hoping that he'll come back to that 2022-2023 form where they were in the NFC Championship. They went to the Super Bowl. But the thing is, the 49ers, had stacked rosters. Their roster is not that stacked anymore. It's still a good roster, but they, just like the Chiefs, just like the Eagles in 2022, after they lost the Super Bowl to Kansas City that year, they needed a couple years to retool. They need to hit their draft picks. They need to kind of get a good infusion of youth into their roster, and then you can probably get to a point like Philly where, okay, now you drafted a bunch of young players, you got talented players, and boom, now you have won the Super Bowl. But for the 49ers, they're kind of going in a transition period. Like, they're still going to be competitive. They're still going to compete and probably win at least 8 football games this year at bare minimum to me right now in late May, early June. But that's going to take time. And in a time like this, you need stability at the quarterback position. The Chiefs are in a retooling period in their franchise. They have the quarterback and they have the stability to be able to circumvent that. The Eagles, they have Jalen Hurts. They had a quarterback that would be stable for them as they drafted new players and got a good infusion of youth into their roster. I can't say the same with Brock Purdy. I can't. And while the offense should be fine next year, a lot of those guys are coming off of injuries. Deebo Samuel is gone. Jordan Mason is gone. Right now, I expect George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, and Ricky Pearsall all to do some good things. But even like in the running game, I don't even know what to expect out of Christian McCaffrey. I don't know what to expect out of this offensive line. They lost pieces in free agency, and Trent Williams is in his late 30s. He's going to retire any year now at this point, realistically speaking. So Brock Purdy is not really the stable option that the 49ers need going through this transitionary period, and that's why it's such a massive risk, because he's not going to look like his 2022-2023 form. I don't believe that. I think he can still be fine, but it's not going to be what it was a couple years ago. I highly doubt that. And another concluding reason to why I think this contract is bad, and this goes outside of the 49ers and Brock Purdy, but Brock Purdy, well, I guess it is still kind of Brock Purdy, but he got paid top 10 quarterback money, not only after having his worst season as a starter in 2024, but a season where Brock Purdy really wasn't that good. He was not that good in 2024. And a lot of people, were not in his corner at all. And I used to be a guy that was pounding the table for Brock Purdy saying, this guy is a really good quarterback. Look at the situation he has around him. He is making the most of it. And after this year, not seeing him perform as well and then make even worse decisions and seem to regress in that question, in that sense, I don't know. You cannot pay after a season like that. You cannot reward top tier money for a season like Brock Purdy had in 2024. It sets a bad precedent for the future quarterback contracts. Now, off the top of my head, there's probably only two or three quarterbacks that are going to be due for an extension next offseason. I'm thinking like CJ Stroud could be one. Bryce Young is is in that conversation. I guess he could be, but that's not a guarantee. The only one right now that I could expect to get a big payday next offseason is CJ Stroud for the Houston Texans. That one makes sense to me right now. But think about Deshaun Watson. Think about his contract and what precedent it set. Oh my God. Think about the precedent that it set for the future quarterback market. I mean, his contract was the one that exploded the quarterback market in the first place. It was a fully guaranteed 5-year, $230 million contract that reset the market, essentially. And then because Deshaun Watson's not a good quarterback anymore, every other quarterback that was due for an extension was like, I'm better than this guy, pay me more. And of course, the teams are like, they have to. You got to pay your franchise quarterback what they want. I mean, or else you can't let them leave. So if the teams are kind of in a tight bind, and another quarterback contract like this, like Brock Purdy got, here in the next, couple of years, as quarterbacks, these, younger quarterbacks that have come into the league these past couple of years now are, due for their contract extension, it's going to be even bigger. It's going to be grander because they're looking at Brock Purdy's contract in the year that he had where he wasn't that good. And they're saying, why is this guy getting paid this money? I'm definitely better than that guy. Pay me more money than that guy. And, for the player's perspective, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that makes sense. But for NFL teams, this isn't good. All it's going to do is continue to jack up the market and the demand to pay your your franchise quarterback. And obviously paying a franchise quarterback, you should be able to pay them whatever they want. Because, I mean, what they bring to your team, what they bring to your locker room, to your franchise, and your community as a whole, I mean, that's invaluable. You can't put a price number on that. You can't put a price tag on it. But it sets a bad precedent. You cannot have mid to back quarterbacks getting big time contracts. A lot of these quarterbacks in the top 10, I don't think deserve the money that they got. Dak Prescott, I love the guy. He's a really good quarterback, but he's not worthy of being the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Not even close. Top 10, he does at max. I think as a player, he deserves to have be in that bottom tier of the top 10 at most. Trevor Lawrence, I do not believe he's not even deserving of a top 10 quarterback contract. Jordan Love is not deserving of a top 10 quarterback contract with his play on the field. There's a couple others in there that I would argue that don't even deserve it either. So it's just bad. It's just really bad because now, quarterbacks that haven't proven anything, quarterbacks that have not shown enough to deserve that big contract are getting overpaid. And now you see some of these young quarterbacks entering the league that have such high potential. You're looking at CJ Stroud going into next offseason. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Let me just rack through my brain for a second. Thinking as a Titans fan, I'll say Cam Ward. That's really early on, but if Cam Ward hits, that's something that would have to be discussed. I'm thinking maybe Drake May would be in that discussion in a couple of years. Trying to think who else would be. Justin Herbert, they already got paid. Bo Nix is in that conversation. I mean, any of the quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round, whatnot, in these past couple of years, a couple more years down the road, if the quarterbacks that hit out of those two that become superstars, right, they're going to get bigger contracts than these guys because more than likely they might prove that they're better than the guys that are in the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks right now. And once again, that's not good. That's not good. So many teams recently have overpaid for mid to bad quarterbacks, and the 49ers are 100% reflective and being another team that has done that. And so I don't like to see that for the future of the NFL and contracts and whatnot. I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to that type of thing, but at the same time, I still support players getting paid, right, and getting their bag. You can't say that you can't support that, right? And I support that 100%. But for the NFL, it's more reflective on the 49ers more than it is Brock Purdy. Like, Brock Purdy, I'm glad he got paid. He's a great dude, right? Congratulations to him. I already made that clear. But for the 49ers, what are you doing? I mean, I get that you got to pay him. I mean, you'd rather have a quarterback than not have one at all. But, oh my goodness, it's just, I don't like it. I really don't like it. I don't like the precedent that it sets. And for the 49ers, I don't know if Brock Purdy will bring the stability at the quarterback position that they're going to need as they retool these next couple of years and add more draft picks to their roster and continue to develop them and maybe get to a point where, yeah, they're like the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles and all their draft picks, popped off, did really well, and it helped them win the Super Bowl and get revenge against Kansas City Chiefs, who beat them a couple years prior. So only time will tell to see if, I'm right or I'm wrong about this contract. But right now, I really don't like it. And I think it's a massive overpay. Congratulations to Brock Purdy. He got the bag. But for the 49ers, they are taking a massive, massive risk paying him. But I think that's going to do it for me today, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you did and you got this far, please consider hitting the like button and hitting the subscribe button. Both of those buttons are free. If it's free, it's for me. You know what I'm saying? And also, it helps the channel out tremendously. We're trying to hit 100 subscribers before the season starts. And at the rate we're going, we might shatter that. So hit those two buttons and help a guy out. You know what I'm saying? Also, along with that, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think Brock Purdy got the right contract? Do you think it was a massive overpay? Let me know what you guys think. And then lastly, make sure you share my video on social media or by word of mouth, getting everybody locked in and locked on to the Shoemake Take, coming out with great content for you guys every single week. Along with that, make sure to follow me on social media on all my platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all those good things. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. Don't know when my next video is going to be. It's going to be sometime this week. I'm pretty sure I'll have to re-rack and think about what I'm going to do because my schedule videos that I had planned might just scrap those now that it's a couple weeks old and kind of irrelevant information at this point for the grand NFL fan base. But I'll figure that out. We'll get it all figured out here soon enough. But today, that's going to do it for me. Hope you guys have enjoyed. And as always, I will see you all next time.